Hey guys, what's going on? Mine here, just bringing you another Nightmare Silo video. For this one, I focused more on the Rosetta heavy silos, so you're going to be seeing Alpha, Sigma, and PSI. Same build as the last two videos. I am going to try to pop in with some commentary here and there just to give you kind of my thought process as I go through them, and maybe some tips and tricks along the way. So we'll get into it right now, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So something that you're going to have to constantly deal with in Alpha is these constant lightning strikes from the enemies. An obvious way to kind of cheat this is to get the pulse power device. Either if you have the mimetic and you can craft it yourself, or if you don't have the mimetic, you could probably pick one up from the harvester's market. Basically what it does is when you get struck by lightning, you get healed for like 60% of your health. You get a little bit of a damage increase, and you also get a movement speed increase. So if you have that, it's going to make things a lot easier. If you don't have that, you can still do the silo. You just have to be very aware of when those little red circles are around your character. You want to avoid those because they do a lot of damage if you get hit by them. And if you're fighting multiple enemies at once, you get hit by a lightning strike, you get shot, you're probably going to go down. So I recommend getting that pulse power device just to make your life a lot easier. And then the other thing that I was using in pretty much all of these silos was the penetrating AP ammo. Now, with that being said, I don't think I had the penetrating AP ammo for this Alpha run in particular, but for the Sigma run and the PSI run, I was using it. So you can kind of see the damage difference there. And if you've been doing these silos on pro difficulty, then you should have the material required to make that penetrating ammo already, because I believe it dropped from the Rosetta guards themselves. And I wasn't really paying attention to like grinding that material or gathering that material at all, and I had a bunch of it. So I was able to make a fair amount of ammo just with what I had from my regular runs. So this room is pretty busy. There's a lot of enemies. Key thing to watch out for in this room are the snipers on the upper levels. Don't give them a direct line of sight to you if you can help it. And then another big thing in all of these silos, since they are Rosetta heavy, is maintaining cover, you know, making sure that your character is behind something so you can't get shot as easily. It's a little different than the deviant heavy silos because they run at you, and in those ones you're utilizing the Weaver a lot more. But in this one, your main thing is just making sure you're behind cover and you're not out in the open. You know, like if you see what I'm doing here in a lot of these fights is I'm staying behind a box, or I'm staying behind a corner. Up here, I'm kind of using the railing and the walkway itself as some natural cover. So just keep that in mind while you're fighting all these enemies and these big groups of enemies in particular. This room, obviously, in order to get the boss to come out of the screen, you need some kind of electric power surge style weapon. If you don't have like corrosion or critical pulse or something, or the outsider, you could just use a stun baton and run up to these things and melee them. That works also. So for this boss, something I like to do is pull the wolves out. The wolves will usually take aggro, and then from then on you can just sit in this lower part here, because every time it stomps down, as long as you're crouching, it's gonna go over your head and it's not gonna hit you. So you're gonna be pretty safe as long as you're down here and not up there with them. You're not gonna have to worry about jumping over it or whatever. And then it's gonna spawn some adds. Once again, if you have wolves, it's gonna take aggro. If you don't have wolves, then you could probably just wait for these adds to run down to you and then like web them up with the weaver and take them out, you know, as they come at you. There really isn't that many of them, so I don't foresee those being a huge problem. But other than that, it's a fairly straightforward fight. And here we are at the final boss room. This room is pretty open. It's dangerous because there's a lot of adds. Something I like to do is run over to this left side here and try to pick these guys off one by one. If you take them all on at the same time, you're going to be dodging grenades, lightning strikes, and a hailstorm of bullets. So it's definitely recommended to, you know, try to single them out and get them out of there one at a time while keeping cover behind these little computer consoles. Once they're all out of the way, you can start taking the boss's shield out. At a certain point, he's going to be spawning in more Rosetta guards. What I like to do is arrow leap over there and take them out as they come in, and then go back to the boss. He's also going to spawn in some drones that appear to recharge his shield. So take those drones out, and once you get those out of the way and you get all the guards dead, then it's pretty much just a straight one-on-one fight with Sergeant Major Dutch. Definitely watch out for his shotgun, because if he gets close to you and hits you a couple times with that, it's going to do major damage. So be cautious of that. A tactic I like to use is pulling my wolves out, and while he's distracted with the wolves, go behind him and then that way I can get really close and do big damage myself. But if I don't have my wolves, then I really like to keep my distance. I like to kind of kite him around the room and keep cover behind the computer consoles as much as I can. I don't want him getting too close to me because of that shotgun. So with all that being said, I think that's about it for this run, and I'll be back for Sigma. All right, here we are in Sigma. Something you're gonna notice about this run is I'm doing more damage because I am using that penetrating AP ammo now. I ran this a couple times without it, and I kept getting these phase heavy guards. The problem with them, if you're not running the penetrating ammo, is that you're doing like no damage at all, and they have a bubble that protects them, and they also have a heal that they put down that heals them over time. So it takes a long time to deal with them if you're not using that penetrating ammo, especially if you don't have a weapon that, you know, specifically deals with phase enemies. So once again, that penetrating ammo is kind of a lifesaver and a time saver. I would definitely recommend crafting some of that. Once again, the material shouldn't be that hard to get if you run some pro silos beforehand. Another thing I'll say is that this room is pretty hectic. You're going to constantly have guards jumping from those ledges. Just do your best to maintain cover, staying behind objects, breaking line of sight. I was getting a little crazy here standing out in the open, but generally you're gonna want to be behind these boxes, be behind this tube in the middle, and kind of shield yourself from all of these bullets. Once you get all these enemies out of the way, the next area should unlock, and all you really have to do is walk through that air vent and we'll be in the next room. So as you saw, I swapped back to the regular tungsten AP ammo for this room because it's all deviants in here. When you start the fight, they're going to come out of the tubes. Just take them out as they're running to you. If they get too close, you can always roll and use the Weaver to web them up. As far as the ads go, the main threat is going to be some Luminaras eventually. For those, I like to pull the wolves out and try to let them take aggro. And then I try to take them out as quickly as possible while staying inside the circle. If you're not in the circle, you're not going to be getting progress. So that's the main thing in here. Once you get all the enemies dead, a claw machine is going to spawn. Run up to it, fight it, get it out of the way, and then go back to the circle to keep charging. And then after that, you'll be done. On to the next room. Alright, so for this final room, it's pretty open, which makes it kind of dangerous because there's a lot of ads. As you can see here, I'm hugging this corner, and I actually swapped shoulders just to give myself a better view while keeping my character more protected. This coherence thing that runs around the corner, you're going to want to take care of as quickly as possible because it is an annoyance. So hit that voodoo doll with bullseye if you have it and burn it down quickly. After that, you can go back into the room while maintaining cover and take care of these ads one by one. As you do that, they're going to spawn some explosive drones that are going to try to make their way to you. You can destroy them before they get to you, and that way you don't take any unnecessary damage. Once you get most of the ads out of the way, you can start working on the boss and his shield. Once you get the shield all the way down and you get him to about half health, he's going to go immune and start regaining shield. You're going to, at this point, pick up that minigun that spawns on either side of the room and start shooting the boss with it in order to get rid of the shield that he's regained. A key thing while you're doing this is maintaining cover, staying behind boxes, utilizing like some corner peek techniques, and that's going to keep you protected, because his minigun, I promise you, does more damage than yours. So don't get tempted to sit out in the open and play chicken with him. You're probably going to lose that fight. Once you get the shield gone, feel free to drop that minigun and go back to your regular weapon and continue burning him down until he's dead. And at that point, you've completed Sigma, and I will be back with more tips on PSI. All right, here we are again in PSI this time. So this is the first main room where you're going to encounter a lot of enemies, some stronger than others. The biggest threats are going to be those snipers over there. As you can see, I'm kind of trying to use this box to break line of sight with them. You're also going to have to deal with these big dudes who have the shields. I kind of like to wait until they get a little closer, especially with Corrosion. If you do a little damage to the front part of that shield, it's gonna break, and then you'll be able to do damage to them directly. Obviously, watch out for the drones as they come at you one by one. Try to take them out. Take these big guys out. And then what I usually like to do after that is get myself to the center of the room. There's like a big display case thing that you can use for cover over on the right side here. You can use that to shield yourself from the enemies that spawn in and the snipers, while giving you a little bit closer range to take those snipers out. So the only real tip I have for this little walkway room here is, once you finish the guys on the walkway, what I like to do is arrow leap over to the scaffolding on the right hand side so that I have the height advantage on the enemies down below. That way you're not shooting up at these turrets and you aren't dealing with the enemies on the ground until you're ready, you know. So as you can see here, I'm going to take this turret out and then I have the high ground. So that's really the only tip for this room. And then once you clear these guys up, you'll be on to the next one. Room's pretty straightforward. Just try to maintain cover while you clear up all these little ads. There's no boss in here. There's no real huge threat. Just clear this room up, go to the next one. The only thing I will say is that I've had it happen before where once the door unlocks, like every enemy from down the hall will come running up, and instead of trying to fight them in that hallway where there's like no cover, it's easier to fall back to this room and fight in here because you have more to hide behind, right? You have the countertops, you have, you know, those boxes. So I don't think that that is gonna happen 100% of the time. It might even just be like a rare bug, but it definitely happened to me a couple times. And if that happens, then you clear all those guys out and then that hallway is completely open to run down.
All troops, stick to your positions. I need backup. defensive!
Alright, and here we are in the final boss room of PSI. So around the outside of the room, you're going to see 4 generators that are protected by these black walls. Try to find an icicle on the ground, destroy the wall, and then do some kind of damage to the generator to blow it up. Once you get all 4 generators cleared out, you can start doing damage to the fridge itself. As you're fighting it, it's gonna try to drop icicles on you, which is indicated by a giant red circle around your character. So don't stand in that and you should be fine. It's also going to spawn in some guards that will run down the hallway one by one. Take them out and keep fighting the fridge. It's a pretty straightforward fight. One trick that I kind of like to try whenever I'm in here is standing up on that metal structure around the fridge itself. That way I get a little high ground. I can see all the enemies down below me as they come in, and I am also within a good range with corrosion, so I can do maximum damage. If you get pushed off of that metal structure by an icicle or by a lot of gunfire, then that's not a bad thing. You can sit down on the ground. Just make sure that you're, staying out of the icicles and that you have all the ads cleaned up.
Hold the defensive line! All troops, stick to your positions! I need back!
So as you saw there, I did switch to the suppression AP ammo for the refrigerator since it is technically a deviant, just to do a little more damage. Once again, I think that suppression ammo is definitely worth grinding some Stardust ore for. Once you get the fridge dead, that is the end of PSI. And that is all the nightmare silos on this side of the map anyway. I hope I was able to give us some tips and tricks. And I hope these videos were able to help you in some way. With that being said, if you have any suggestions for a future video or you want to see a certain gun or build, let me know. And I will see you all in the next one.